Next question. Does not this theory appear to bear out the opinion of those who admit only two essential properties in matter versus the force and movement, and who regard all the other properties of matter as being merely secondary effects of these, varying according to the intensity of the force and the direction of the movement? Answer. That opinion is correct, but you must also add, according to the mode of molecular arrangement, as you see exemplified, for instance, in an opaque body that may become transparent and vice versa. Next question. Have the molecules of matter a determinate form? Answer. Those molecules undoubtedly have a form, but one which is not appreciable by your organs. Next question. Is that form constant or variable? Answer. Constant for the primitive elementary molecules, but variable for the secondary molecules, which are themselves only agglomerations of the primary ones, for what you term a molecule is still very far from being the elementary molecule. Next question. Universal space. Is universal space infinite or limited? And there's a little note here. This principle explains a phenomena familiar to all magnetizers versus the imparting to any given substance, to water for example, of very different qualities such as specific flavors or even the active qualities. Infinite, or that's what I meant, that's the answer. Here's the question. Is universal space infinite or limited? Now, here's the answer. Infinite. Suppose the existence of boundaries. What would there be beyond them? This consideration confounds human reason, and nevertheless, your reason itself tells you that it cannot be otherwise. It is thus with the ideal of infinity, under whatever aspect you consider it. The ideal of infinity cannot be comprehended in your narrow sphere. Now the author says this. If we imagine a limit to space, no matter how far off our thought may place that limit, our reason tells us that there must still be something beyond it, and so on, step by step, until we arrive at the ideal of infinity, for the something beyond, the existence of which is recognized by our thought as a necessity. Were it only an absolute void, would still be space. Next question. Does an absolute void exist in any part of space? Answer. No. There is no void. What appears like a void to you is occupied by matter in a state in which it escapes the action of your senses and of your instruments. Oh, there's the rest of that part that I was reading, but I'm going to skip that for now. Next chapter, creation. Questions concerning creation. Formation of worlds, production of living being, peopling of the earth, atom, diversity of human race, polarity of worlds, the biblical account of the creation. Formation of worlds. The universe comprises the infinity of worlds, both of those we see and those we do not see, all animate and inanimate, being all the stars that revolve in space, and all fluids with which space is filled. Now, the question is, has the universe been created, or has it existed from all eternity like God? Answer. Assuredly, the universe cannot have made itself. And if it had existed from all eternity, like God, it could not be the work of God. The author adds, reason tells us that the universe cannot have made itself, and that, as it could not be the work of chance, it must be the work of God. So the question, how did God create the universe? Answer in one paragraph. That seems like such a big question. Answer. To borrow a well-known expression, by his will. Nothing can give a better idea to the action of that all-powerful will than those grand words of Genesis. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Question: can we know how worlds are formed? Answer: all that can be said on this subject within the limits of your comprehension is this: worlds are formed by the condensation of the matter disseminated in space. Next question: are comets, as is now supposed, a commencement of condensation of the primitive matter worlds in course of formation? Answer: yes, but it is absurd to believe in the influence attributed to them. I mean the influence which is commonly attributed to them, for all the heavenly bodies have their share of influence in the production of certain physical phenomena. Next question: is it possible for a completely formed world to disappear, and for the matter of which it is composed to be again disseminated in space? Answer: yes, God renews worlds as he renews the living beings that inhabit them. I knew that was going to be the answer. Next question: can we know the length of time employed in the formation of worlds of the earth, for instance? Answer: this is a matter in regard to which I can tell you nothing, for it is only known to the Creator, and foolish indeed would he be who should pretend to possess such knowledge or to number the ages of such a formation. Okay, the next line of inquiry is production of living beings. Question: when did the earth begin to be peopled? Answer: in the beginning all was chaos. The elements were mixed up in a state of confusion. Gradually those elements settled into their proper places, and then appeared the orders of living beings appropriate to the successive states of the globe. And next question: whence came the living beings that appeared upon the earth? Answer: the germs of these were contained in the earth itself, awaiting the favorable moment for their development. The organic principles came together on the cessation of the force which held them asunder, and those principles formed the germs of all the living beings that have peopled the earth. Those germs remained latent and inert, like the chrysalis and the seed of plants, until the arrival of the proper moment for the vivification of each species. The beings of each species then came together and multiplied. Question: where were the organic elements before the formation of the earth? Answer: they existed, so to say, in the fluidic state in space, in the midst of the spirits, or in other planets, awaiting the creation of the earth in order to begin a new existence on a new globe. Now the author adds this: chemistry shows us the molecules of inorganic bodies uniting to produce crystals of regular forms that are invariable for each species as soon as those molecules find themselves in the conditions necessary to their combination. The slightest disturbance of those conditions suffices to prevent the union of the material elements, or at least to prevent the regular arrangement of the latter, which constitutes the crystal. Why should not the same action take place among the organic elements? We preserve for years the seeds of plants and of animals which are only vivified at a certain temperature and under certain conditions. Grains of wheat have been seen to germinate after the lapse of centuries. These then in seeds, I another typo. I don't know. Then in seeds, there is then in seeds a latent principle of vitality which only awaits the concourse of favorable circumstances to develop itself. May not that which takes place under our eyes every day have also taken place at the origin of the globe? Does this view of the formation of living beings brought forth out of chaos by the action of the forces of nature itself detract in any way from the glory of God? So far from doing this, the view of creation thus presented to us is more consonant than any other with our sense of the vastness of his power, exerting its sway over all the worlds of infinity through the action of universal laws. This theory, it is true, does not solve the problem of the origin of the vital elements, but nature has mysteries which it is as yet is impossible for us to explain. How true. Next question. Do any living beings come into existence spontaneously at the present day? Answer. Yes, but the primal germs of these already existed in a latent state. You are constantly witnesses of this phenomena. Do not the tissues of the human body and of animals contain the germs of multiples of parasites that only await for their development the occurrence of the putrid fermentation necessary to their life? Each of you contains a slumbering world of microscopic beings in process of creation. Next question. Was the human species among the organic elements contained in the terrestrial globe? Answer. Yes. And it made its appearance at the time appointed by the Creator. Hence the statement that man was formed out of the dust of the ground. Next question. Can we ascertain the epoch of the appearance of man and of the other living beings on the earth? Answer. No. All your calculations are chimerical. I don't know what that word means, chimerical. Next question. If the germs of the human race were among the organic elements of the globe, why are human beings not produced spontaneously at the present day as they were at the time of its origin? Answer. The first beginnings of things is hidden from us. Nevertheless, it may be asserted that the earliest progenitors of the human race, when once brought into existence, absorbed in themselves the elements necessary to their formation in order to transmit those elements according to the laws of reproduction. The same may be said in regard to all the different species of living beings. The next questions are peopling of the earth and Adam. Question. Did the human race begin with one man only? Answer. No. He whom you call Adam was neither the first nor the only man who peopled the earth. Next question. Is it possible to know at what period Adam lived? Answer. About the period which you assign to him, that is to say, about 4,000 years before Christ. Now here's some of the author's words. The man of whom, under the name of Adam, tradition has preserved the memory, was one of those who, in some one of the countries of the globe, survived one of the great cataclysms which at various epochs have changed its surface, and who became the founder of one of the races that people the earth at the present day. The laws of nature render it impossible that the amount of progress which we know to have been accomplished by the human race of our planet long before the time of Christ could have been accomplished so rapidly as must have been the case if he had only been in existence upon the globe since the period assigned as the date of Adam. The opinion most consonant with reason is that which regards the story of Adam as a myth or as an allegory personifying the earliest ages of the world. Diversity of human races. More questions. What is the cause of the physical and moral differences that distinguish the various races of men upon the earth? Answer. Climate, modes of life, and social habits. The same differences would be produced in the case of two children of the same mother, if brought up far from one another and surrounded by different influences and conditions. For the children thus diversely brought up would present no moral resemblance to each other. Question. Did the human race come into existence on various points of the globe? Answer. Yes, and at various epochs, and this is one of the causes of the diversity of human races. The people of the primitive periods being dispersed abroad in different climates and forming alliances with those of other countries than their own, gave rise perpetually to new types of humanity. Question. Do these differences constitute distinct species? Answer. Certainly not. All of them constitute but a single family. Do the differences between the varieties of the same fruit prevent their all belonging to the same species? Question. If the human species do not all proceed from the same progenitor, should they, or that on that account, cease to regard one another as brothers? Answer. All men are brothers in virtue of their common relation to the Creator because they are animated by the same Spirit and tend towards the same goal. The human mind is always prone to attach too literal a meaning to statements which are necessarily imperfect and incomplete. Next questions are about the plurality of worlds. Question. Are all the globes that revolve in space inhabited? Answer. Yes, and the people of the earth are far from being, as you suppose, the first in intelligence, goodness, and general development. There are many men having a high opinion of themselves who even imagine that your little globe alone, of all the countless myriads of globes around you, has the privilege of being inhabited by reasoning beings. They fancy that God has created the universe only for them. Insensate vanity. And this is the author's words. God has peopled the globes of the universe with living beings, all of whom concur in working out the aims of his providence. To believe that the presence of living beings is confined to the one point of the universe inhabited by us is to cast a doubt on the wisdom of God, who has made nothing in vain, and who must therefore have assigned to all the other globes of the universe a destination more important than that of gratifying our eyes with the spectacle of a starry night. Moreover, there is nothing in the position, size, or physical constitution of the earth to warrant the supposition that it alone, of the countless myriads of globes disseminated throughout the infinity of space, has the privilege of being inhabited. Next question. Is the physical constitution of all globes the same? Answer. No, they do not all resemble one another. Next question. The physical constitution of the various worlds not being the same for all, does it follow that the beings who inhabit them have different organizations? Answer. Undoubtedly it does, just as in your world fishes are organized for living in the water and birds for living in the air. Next question. Are the planets farthest removed from the sun stinted in light and heat, the sun only appearing to them of the size of one of the fixed stars? Answer. Do you suppose that there are no other sources of light and heat than the sun? And do you count for nothing the action of electricity, which in certain worlds plays a very much more important part than in your earth? Besides, how do you know that the beings of those worlds see in the same manner as you do, and with the aid of organs such as yours. And then the author's note. The condition of existence for the beings who inhabit the various worlds must be supposed to be appropriate to the sphere in which they are destined to live. If we had never seen fishes, we should be at a loss to understand how any living being could exist in the sea. So in regard to all the other worlds, which doubtless contain elements that are unknown to us, in our own earth, are not the long polar nights illumined by the electrical displays of the aurora borealis? Is it impossible that in certain worlds electricity may be more abundant than in ours and may subserve in its general economy various important uses not imaginable by us? And may not those worlds contain in themselves the sources of the heat and light required by their inhabitants? And I will begin in the next session the biblical account of the creation.